Hello there, just in time for NTV at 1. My name is Trevor Ombija. Here's what you need to know at this hour. Two sons of slain drug baron Ibrahim Akash on Wednesday pleaded guilty to 6 counts of drug trafficking in a New York court. Baktash and Ibrahim Akash appeared before Southern District of New York, where Kenya's Anti-Narcotics Unit Chief Amisi Massa was present. In a tweet, the Directorate of Criminal Investigations announced that the 2 Kenyan citizens had pleaded guilty to the charges.
The DCI has revealed that it participated in the case in the United States city of New York, saying it had presented a watertight case against the 2 in partnership with the United Nations Office of Drugs and Crime, UNODC. Tweet: the Kenyan security agency stated that the director of its anti-narcotic unit was personally in the United States to have the 2 plead guilty to the charges. It did not, however, indicate whether or when the 2 will be sentenced. In July, the U.S. court rejected the brothers' argument that they had been forcibly kidnapped and extradited into detention in New York in violation of a U.S.-Kenya extradition treaty. Judge Victor Marrero said the application by the Akashas was an effort to avoid trial on drug smuggling charges by claiming that the U.S. court lacks jurisdiction on their case. The 2 had sought to compel the U.S. government to hand over documents related to the extradition or expulsion from Kenya. After 3 months of deliberation, Justice Marrero decided that the brothers had failed to persuade him that the documents would be relevant to a non-frivolous defense. After 3 months of deliberation, Justice Marrero decided that the brothers had failed to persuade him that the documents would be relevant to a non-frivolous defense. They could be sentenced to life imprisonment according to U.S. drug trafficking law. They were arrested in Mombasa on January 28, 2017 by several armed individuals who identified themselves as Kenyan police. On January 30th the same year, Ibrahim and Baktash were transferred to the custody of U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency personnel who flew them to New York. U.S. prosecutors had earlier charged them with a conspiracy to smuggle 98 kilograms of heroin into the U.S. At the time of the duo's extradition from Kenya, a Mombasa court was hearing a petition on whether they be taken to New York to stand trial. Leila Mohammed, NTV.
And away from that, the Inspector General of Police, Joseph Boinnet, has informed the Parliamentary Committee on Transport that most of the rising cases of accidents in the country are caused by human error. The IG Traffic Commandant Samuel Kimaru and National Transport and Safety Authority Director General Francis Major were this morning before the Transport Committee to explain the rising cases of accidents in the counties. Vincent Odur now joins us live, for he was there during the brief. Vincent, what do the legislators want from the IG henceforth?
Standby. Absolutely, majority members of the National Assembly's Committee on Transport want the Inspector General of Police, Joseph Boinnet, to resign over the accident that happened at Fort Tenan, whereby more than 50 people died. You know, most of the members took issue with the IG, asking why there were no roadblocks along that road, especially from Nairobi here at Country Bus Station to the place where the accident occurred, and why there were no police on that road on that particular day. And IG basically said he's the one who takes responsibility as the Inspector General, but the issue of resigning or taking responsibility or stepping aside is something that he's not ready to do now. He's saying that currently they are conducting investigations to really find out what happened. And one of the things that the IG informed the committee is that there were no roadblocks along that road, because one of the measures they've taken to try and fight or curb corruption within the force or the traffic among the traffic officers is to reduce the number of roadblocks they have along the roads in the country. Another thing that really came up is that members of the committee really questioned the new chain of command that is being used for the traffic officers, because, you know, right now the traffic officers are required to report the officers commanding stations, who are then required to report to the OCPD, officers commanding provincial divisions, for anything to do with the traffic issues. And the members are saying that new system of managing traffic seems not to work, and that is something they've told the IG to really look into and work on it. One thing that has also come up during the hearing is that the Committee on Transport has proposed to bring some amendments to the traffic law, amendments that will have the traffic officers together with the owners and administrators of circles take responsibility anytime accidents occurred, because they had issues that whenever these things happen, there are no specific people to take responsibility, like the case of Fort Tenan accident, and therefore they want the IG to really come up with one single person at the national level who will be in charge of the traffic, whereby whenever there is an issue, the person will be able to take responsibility. For now, that is what has transpired. For more of this, join me later in our evening bulletin. Back to studio.
You're absolutely right. Vincent will be covering that event, of course, during subsequent bulletins at 4, 7 and at 9. The IG says he's not resigning, in as much as the legislators want him to call it a day over the fatal crash at Fort Tenan. Let's cross over to Mombasa, where an overnight downpour there has led to flooding and rendered some roads there impassable. As a result, several motorists have been stranded for almost the whole morning. Kevin Mutai is joining us live from Mombasa. Kevin, how's the situation looking like right now?
Well, thank you so much, Trevor, from Nairobi. As you can see, this is the situation from here in Mombasa. Where we are standing right now is the roundabout of the railways coming in and out of town. As you can see, motorists are trying to maneuver the flood waters that have continuously caused, or rather wreaked havoc since the heavy downpour that started this morning. Mombasa, also some other residential areas from this coastal city of Mombasa have been affected. Areas such as Bombolulu, Changamwe, Mikindani have cases of water getting into the homes of those particular people living in those areas have been reported. And of course, this particular point is one of the key areas within the CBD, and as you can see, people are trying to clear the traffic, and it is something that has been going on from morning. This rain started, remember, last night after the Kenya Meteorological Department issued an advisory warning fishermen and also motorists to brace themselves for the coming days, whereby saying that heavy rains will be expected in this coastal city. And as you can see, Trevor, just to ask my camera person to give you, rather to pan to my left, you can see that there's already a heavy traffic snarl up in this particular area. Motorists are trying to maneuver their way through this raging water. Some of them have been stuck, and of course in areas such as the KPA, that is the road towards the Kenya Ports Authority, the same situation is also experienced down there, and a lot has been happening here. I can see also people trying to unclog some of the sewerage system to enable these flood waters find their way to proper channels and be able to clear off the roads. And with me here is one of the residents who's been really trying to help the situation by controlling traffic in this particular area. First, thank you so much for joining us, and tell us your names and tell us what you've been doing here.
My name is Akash Baga. I work for a Corner Garage group of companies, and since morning it's been raining quite a lot. But as you can see, the roads are flooded and there's nobody to control the situation. So we've just taken it up on ourselves. Even the staff, you can see all the staff are out there. They are the ones who are actually helping to clear the drainage and all. And me and a colleague of mine, we're just controlling the traffic for now.
Since we got here, we've been seeing you trying to show, as in rather control the traffic. How is that situation? Are drivers cooperating?
Well, some drivers are cooperating and others just want to try their luck and pass. And if they get stuck, we again have to go into the water and try to help them out and push them out. That's all we can do. Otherwise, everybody else has been cooperating, you know.
How many incidences have we had, especially with motorists who have been stuck in this particular floods?
We have been like a lot of tuk-tuks though, but with the big cars we just have one like right now which is stuck. So as soon as I'm through here, I'll just go and try to sort them out. Okay. And we had one more, but they were towed out by the county breakdown.
Okay. Thank you so much. I better let you go, still do your work. Right. Thank you so much. Well, of course, as you've heard, that is the situation here, and as you can see, that residents are the ones trying to come up and unite to try and control the situation. But Trevor, I'm sure we'll be able to bring you more details on this ongoing heavy downpour here from the coastal city of Mombasa. Back to you, Trevor.
Well, thanks, Kevin. That's Kevin Mutai speaking to us from the flooded Mombasa streets. And like you can see, there's been a heavy downpour through the night and through half the morning. The motorists there are stranded, just trying to wade through. And by the way, thumbs up to the volunteers who are trying to make sure traffic is regulated there. Meanwhile, back in Nairobi, Agriculture CS Mwangi Kiunjuri is blaming Treasury for the payments of over 16 billion shillings, which was advanced to traders who apparently imported maize from South Africa and Mexico as well. Kiunjuri, who appeared before the Senate Ad Hoc Committee on Maize Crisis, says Treasury gave a free window when it issued a gazette notice for importation, but without consultation with the Ministry of Agriculture. Silas Apollo has been following the proceedings for what else the CS had to say regarding the maize scandal. Silas, good afternoon. What more are we learning? Are we learning anything new from this deliberation, Silas?
Yes, Trevor, thank you very much. We've been here today where the Senate Ad Hoc Committee on Maize has been meeting the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture, Mwangi Kiunjuri. And of course, today's sitting was basically looking into the payment of maize that was imported into the country, how much was imported and how much was paid. Of course, it's a matter that the CS has been talking about. Even he had a press conference, of course, even on Tuesday, where he talked about the payments and some of the pending payments. But the most interesting revelation that happened today, basically, was part of the maize that had been imported from Mexico and Brazil and even South Africa, which members of the committee were saying have been rotting in silos, and some of them have been contaminated. So the CS was put to task to explain whether the maize that had been imported from Mexico, the ones that have been imported from South Africa, were still safe for human consumption. Of course, he says that he cannot give a conclusive answer on that as at now. You remember yesterday the Treasury CAS Nelson said that the maize that had been imported was about 16 billion shillings. So the members of the committee were interested in knowing how much, of course, interested in knowing how come the government spent 16 billion shillings, yet this maize had not been contaminated. The CS also says that, of course, because the maize has been too much now that the government had imported more maize, they're looking forward to selling some of these maize at half the price in which they purchased them, which is about 1,600 to 1,500 shillings, which is also a matter that the committee took cognizance of. Of course, the CS has been asked to present himself again in a week's time to give a conclusive report on the status of the maize, also on the status of the subsidy fertilizer that was supposed to be given to farmers, and also on the status of the payments and the investigation that are being done by the EACC and the DCI. Back to you, Trevor.
Interesting revelations there. Silas Apollo speaking to us from Parliament over the maize scandal. We'll give you more details at 7 and at 9 and at 4 p.m. as well. And let's cross over to industrial area where Migori Governor Okoth Obad is yet to be released about 24 hours after he was granted bail. He had been given a 5 million shillings bail and a surety of the same 5 million shillings as well. He was being held over the murder of Rongo University student Sharon Otieno. His accomplices are still in custody, but he's yet to be released despite that court granting him bail. And Olive Barrows is joining us live. Olive, what's the holdup?
Well, thank you very much. The Migori Governor, Okoth Obado, remains behind these walls, and that is after there was a complication with one of his sureties yesterday. He was released by the court on a cash bail of 5 million shillings and 2 similar sureties. The prison authorities, however, say they have yet to receive any court paperwork from the courts sanctioning his release, and they say they will not do so, and that until that paperwork is in. The prison authorities behind us had to chase away some of his supporters earlier in the morning, but they've started convening once again, eagerly awaiting his release. His family and his lawyers have until 5 p.m. To secure his release. Otherwise, he will have to spend another night in prison. Of course, he's facing charges for the murder of 26-year-old Rongo University student Sharon Otieno, who was his lover, and he's been in detention for about over a month, having been arrested on the 21st of September. There's a lot of anticipation behind me, a lot of excitement to see him released. His co-accused, however, Michael Oyamo, that is Michael Oyamo, his personal assistant, and Kaspal Obiero, who is a county clerk, will, however, remain in detention, having been denied bail by the court. The other details of his release is that of Obato's release, the conditions are that he cannot go within 20 kilometers of the Homa Bay Migori County border, on account of it having been the scene of the crime. He also cannot speak on the deceased or on the case at public gatherings. He was also required to turn his passport into to the court, and therefore cannot travel outside the country. And one other condition of his release is that he will be required to report to the deputy registrar at the Milimani Law Courts at least once a month. The context of his arrest, of course, as I mentioned, is that it's over the murder of his lover, his 26-year-old lover Sharon Otieno, who was pregnant 7 months heavy with his child. That is what the DNA results showed. The Daily Nation, in its report today, that it was the top story of the Daily Nation, showed that the detectives have extended investigations to Uganda and Tanzania. They're looking for three suspects they say were involved in her killing.
Thanks, Olive. We'll catch up with Olive Barrows later on at Industrial Area. There seems to be a bit of a complication with the surety of 5 million shillings regarding the Migori governor, Kivutha Kibwana, is yet to be released from custody. He's still at the Industrial Area. Let's cross over to the rest of the country in different counties. And police officers in Ratia, that's in Laikipia County, are on the spot once again after they allegedly shot 5 cows. The police claim the herders had invaded private ranches in Laikipia County before the shooting.
The herders who have been grazing at Ratia in Olmoran Division claimed they were ambushed by officers drawn from the Rapid Deployment Unit.
Nasikia mulio ya marisasi. Mimi nafikiria ni adui ingine ndio mekamata hii ng'ombe. Mimi nakimbia, sisi nakimbia mpaka mimi nakutana na mchungaji. Mchungaji namwambia mimi ni askari ndio wamekamata hiyo ng'ombe ya kiparo.
The pastoralist insists they had not invaded any ranch. They accuse the police of using excessive force. According to the herders, 5 cows were shot during the operation. They say some cows are slowly dying from the gunshot wounds.
Hiyo ng'ombe wanachukua, mimi nashuhudia, naangalia ameua ng'ombe 2 na kuweka ngari. Alafu ng'ombe nyingine 3 akaweka jaraha. Basi ng'ombe hiyo nyingine akatoroka, mimi napuata mpaka naingia mboma. Ndio mimi napigia hao ofisa simu kumwambia hii kwa tumevamia ng'ombe yangu askari.
The herders say police should have used alternative methods of dealing with them instead of shooting the animals.
Na mimi nataka kujua hii ng'ombe yangu imekuwa kama sirwei au swara. Kwa nini kama hiyo ng'ombe iko makosa, kwa nini hapana kamatwa mimi na mimi iko na shamba yangu?
And these are the animals that we depend on in terms of food, in terms of education, and entirely our source of livelihood depends on this animal. That bull, we bought it at 80,000, and the essence was to improve the production.
We have started the investigation. I'm sure in another 2 or 3 days, the police county commander will have a full report, the investigation file.
There have been conflicts between herders and owners of private farms and ranches in various parts of Laikipia County.
So one landowner is accusing the Kiambu County government of grabbing his land, where the county has already started building a market at Kamai Kinare. Robert Njoroge says the county government has taken over his 5-acre piece of land, which it claims he grabbed. Njoroge says he has all the documents, including a court order which prevents the county government from further development on his land. The landowner says the county government has ignored the court order and is still constructing anyway. The Kamai Kinare residents say land grabbing has become a thorn in the flesh because of the major ongoing developments, including the building of sewerage systems and tarmacking of the roads there. The residents want the Ministry of Lands and the National Lands Commission to urgently issue title deeds to genuine landowners to curb cases of land grabbing in the constituency.
Naona sababu tractor zinachimba ati governor anataka kujenga soko kwa shamba yangu. najiuliza kwa njia gani na kwa namna gani. Maana hata gavana mwenyewe hajaniuliza wala county yenyewe hajaniuliza. Na kama kumiliki shamba ni title deed na ndio hii niko nayo, na kusema kwamba shamba ni ya county, najiuliza kuna shamba iko na title mbili kweli? Labda kuwe kuna makosa fulani. Lakini mimi ninavyojua shamba ni langu na limekuwa langu na mpaka sasa ni langu. Manake sasa county government imeniingilia kwa shamba yangu.
Ni hatua gani umechukua?
Hatua ni kwenda kotini, manake siko na njia nyingine.
Meanwhile, a group of women from Trans Nzoia County have gone against the norm and are now working in quarries where they break stones for a living. The women say the high cost of living and unemployment pushed them to take that line of work.
Jane Nafula and Judith Nanyama call this quarry at Sarura in Trans Nzoia County their workplace. They report here like the many men to carry and break stones for a living. They say it may not be easy, but the economic times are harder.
Sukari kaenda mbele, mahindi korokoro kaenda mbele. Tunanunua nini? Tumepika miraba, tumeshindikana. Saa hii hata ukienda kibarua usipata, imeisha. Tuko kwa mawe na mawe yenyewe hatuwezi wengine kupika. Tutafanya nini serikali? Naomba mtusaidie.
By working here, these women, a majority of them being widows, are exposed to health problems since they do not have protective gear at the quarry. As the breadwinners for their families, they say that working at the quarries can barely meet their ends meet.
Hata kwa siku nikipika, siwezi nikauza hata shilingi 200 kwa sababu tani moja huwa tunauza shilingi 300. Na 300 hiyo tani moja ni wheelbarrow 7. Na wheelbarrow 7 mimi mama kukaa hapa kuanzia asubuhi mpaka jioni hata siwezi nikagonga hiyo wheelbarrow 7.
They accuse the county government of sidelining women in the development agenda. Achieng Wembley, NTV.
Well, absolute strength of a woman in display. They're still remaining in the counties. County governments have been urged to widen agricultural extension service networks with a view to boost the sector's contribution to the development of the devolved units. The Kenya Livestock Producers Association has decried high farmers to extension services personnel ratio, terming it as an impediment to unlocking the sector's potential. The National Policy on Agriculture Extension Services seeks to enhance decentralization of service provision through grassroots institutions in line with the devolved structure of government.
Currently, the ratio of an extension officer to the farmers is 1 to 10,000. And even agriculture having been devolved, the ratio is still big. The recommended ratio should be extremely lower, but we want to use the synergies of working with the farmers themselves.
And beyond the borders, Saleh Work Zedwi has been elected the first female president of Ethiopia. Saleh, who was an ambassador and is senior official at the UN, takes over from former President Malatu Teshome, who was president since 2013. The two parliamentary houses voted in favor of her for the position. Well, this comes just weeks after Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed appointed a cabinet with half the posts taken up by women. According to the media, in acceptance speech, President Saleh Work spoke about the importance of maintaining peace to foster ties and move forward as a nation. Still remaining beyond the borders, Liberian President George Manewere has declared tertiary education free for all undergraduate students. Liberian students who initially were unable to further their studies due to financial constraints are now able to join public universities. Liberians have expressed their excitement, saying that the free undergraduate program will see many students continue with their studies past secondary school levels, therefore increasing the level of their literacy. The president made the major policy statement during a visit to the state-run University of Liberia's main campus in Monrovia.
I therefore declare free tuition for all undergraduate students at the University of Liberia as well as all other public universities in Liberia.
We are delighted, we are far we concerned, the president have done the country well for you. Understand the economic constraint our people go through.
I'm too happy. I don't even know how to express my joy. I'm telling my friends that in a good time I've demonstrated Yeah, they should start demonstrating. We are students, we are universitarians. We should know the reason of coming to their school.
Absolute jubilation there from Liberia. In the US, the authorities are still investigating who was behind pipe bombs sent to former President Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and
Niaje.
The Sport Pesa Premier League 2018 Awards will be held this evening at the Kenya School of Government in Kabete in Nairobi County. The reigning most valuable player Mike Madoya is among the 5 nominees for the award, which has a cash prize of 1 million shillings. The Zoo Kericho midfielder is in the shortlist together with Kariobangi Sharks Golden Boot winner Eric Kapaito, Bandari defender Feli Mulumba and Bandari goalkeeper Farouk Shikhalo alongside Mathare United's Cliff Nyakea. Barcelona and Dortmund remain with perfect starts to their Champions League campaigns after beating Inter Milan and Atletico Madrid respectively on Wednesday. Meanwhile, Mo Salah reached the 50 goals mark for Liverpool after scoring a brace in the Reds' 4-0 victory over Red Star Belgrade.
Barcelona are on the Champions League trail again.
always, Trevor Ombija. Always a pleasure having you with us. NTV Alasiri coming up at 4, NTV Junior at 7, and NTV Tonight at 9. I'll see you then. Bye.